Enjoy.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Marcia. Hi, welcome. Thank you for being here. Today, there's a heaviness in the air, and there's a lightness of our very being together. I can feel them both. So I think that's where we're going to start. Now, first things first, your name is Tirzah, and it starts with tear.
That's right.
And your work is Wounds into Wisdom. And you're a depth Jungian psychologist and an author and a rabbi and a teacher and a scholar. And you've committed and dedicated your life to discovering and uncovering and excavating how our individual ancestral traumas can find their way into our individual lives. And I thought that that's where we would start. But I have to ask you, if a nation can be suffering from ancestral intergenerational trauma, because that's like I can hardly speak because there's so much pain going on right now. Yeah. So could we start there, and we'll start in the wide, and then we'll kind of narrow it into how we are part of the healing that can happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Liz. Oh, it's a machaya to be here with all of you. Liz, thank you for starting with what is. I call it the Torah of the moment. As some of our Hasidic masters used to say, there is a Torah of the moment right now. What is the world speaking? What is God saying? And it's all around us. So it's a machaya to be here with you. That means it's life-giving to be with this wonderful community, which I feel is my Florida home, my Florida family, because we need each other right now. We truly do. Can you hear me okay, by the way? Okay, good.
Yes.
We really need each other's support. We need each other's encouragement. We need each other to help move beyond our very safe bubble. I'm calling you, I'm zooming in from Boulder, Colorado, where I see this beautiful garden out my window, and everything is peaceful, and there are workers on the block, but that's the noise. It is not, things aren't erupting in fire and flames, but just down the road in Denver, it is. And I'm getting reports hourly that there are, there's all kinds of terrible things going on in both directions, a lot of flame throwing. So we're living in the midst of a traumatic world and a traumatizing world. And we could say that things were set in motion decades and even centuries ago that created the conditions for what's going on today. And so we're talking about intergenerational trauma right now. And it's right here, and this is a template. This is what happens when trauma can't be healed. When trauma isn't healed, it's not healed because, unfortunately, as I just put on my Facebook page, the traumas of slavery haven't been able to be healed because those wounds keep getting slashed open daily with different indignities and a sense of being hunted down and unsafety in the world. So you can't really heal when there's that going on. You're just trying to run for cover. You're just trying to survive. You're trying to keep your kids alive. And so that's the setting. That's where we open our talk today, is in
yes, we do.
Intergenerational trauma in action, in reality right now.
So one of the things that's happened as a result of this is I've gotten in touch with, over the course of the past few days, my own implicit biases that live within inside of me. I'm starting to learn how I've been, how it's been ingrained in my consciousness and my family and the history and the language, how I look at people a certain way and I have thoughts. And the good news is what's been in the shadow
Mm-hmm.
in my own being is now coming to the surface. You're a Jungian. And I wanted to just point out on your email signature, I love your Carl Jung quote that says, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." So maybe our nation is cracking through and breaking through to become who we truly are. Do we have to do that first, or it's part of it?
It's part of it. You know, we could say that each and every one of us is a cell in the body, in the larger body. And so depending on our health, the body politic, the whole body of the community can grow. And I know that you know that from IJKL. Each person counts. Each member counts. And that's what Kim and all of you who have grown this at Rabbi Akiva have grown this incredible organization and this community. It's really a family, not an organization, but it's an organism. And it counts on the health of every human being, of every member of it, just as the United States counts on the health of every cell in its body. And when an entire organ, we could say, when the liver has been shut down or contaminated or is toxic because it has been treated so poorly, the diet it's been fed has been toxic, then the entire body politic suffers. And the United States is really suffering. I'm so glad you're opening the lens, Liz. You know, you're widening the aperture to take in the fact that, most of us have white skin, but are we white? I don't know. That's a whole question. Being Jewish, I don't know. Less and less, I feel like I'm white. I feel a kinship with the marginalized community here because I know that my ancestors were marginalized for centuries. This country, however, I feel very grateful for. They took in my family. They took in many of our families, and yet it was founded on, we have bad karma. Can we say that? We have some really rough karma. We have been cheating and breaking treaties and breaking social contracts with our indigenous peoples, with our Black community for centuries. And our enslaved Blacks, that legacy of enslavement has continued through mass incarceration, through being ghettoized, through being not even talking about the blatant discrimination of lynchings and that sort of thing, but just job and education and medical underprivileged services has been. So we, as a larger body, we are sick, and it's coming out now, and it's like the inflamed organ is erupting and saying, we can't go on. And unfortunately, the whole body can't go on until this is healed.
So I'm going to go backward in your book, which I'm going to hold it up. It's called Wounds into Wisdom. And it's healing intergenerational Jewish trauma and trauma for anyone, because of course you talk, and there's a lot about your own family's history and your dad going and after the Holocaust and people's exposure to sites and experiences that are just untenable and unconscionable. And yet you have 7 principles in your book. And the 7th principle is action. So we're going to work backward, I guess, because the real question right now in this moment is, what action can our participants here in this Zoom program, what action can we begin to take in relationship to trauma? And how do I know if trauma is a part of my life that's affecting my everyday behavior?
Okay.
Struggles and understanding.
Yes.
So
yes,
bring it together for us,
big
please.
questions. First of all, there's personal traumas, and many of us have suffered from personal traumas in our lives. I'm sure those of you who are listening right now, there have been boundary crossings in your lives, or sudden deaths, or loss of a child, or really big tragedies that are traumas, when people die early, unexpected, when things are abruptly removed from you. That is a personal, individual trauma that we, each of us, have to heal in order to be, like Jung says, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who we truly are. Those things get in our way. They block us from being our brilliant, our radiant selves. So we each have we say in Hebrew, a chovah, which is a sacred obligation to heal ourselves. And I think that is what God, the universe, our creator wants of us, to keep unblocking the blockages that come up in life, just living life. It's impossible to go through life without having some traumas. And by trauma, I simply mean any life experience which overwhelms our capacities to cope. And that could be, God forbid, a car accident, or it could be.
No, you're like bringing a memory back. When I was about 5 years old, our little dog went missing. And we went out in the morning to go look for the dog, and we were riding about 5 blocks away from the house, and my father screams out, "Don't look, don't look." So what do you think I did? I looked, and then I saw the dog had been run over, and it was real trauma. I mean, real trauma at that age. And I don't think I've thought that or had that memory in 50 years, and all of a sudden, it just, when you talk about it, it rises up.
That's right.
It's real.
And fortunately or unfortunately, in my classes, that's the kind of thing some of you know, as you're studying with me. It's almost, there's a mosquito right here wanting to bite me. It's almost just saying the word elicits stuff. And that's the way.
What does a mosquito mean, by the way?
Yeah, right. It's like
right here.
Just like,
that wants to bite me.
It's a distraction.
But it's interesting, like, what are the things that come and bite us when we least expect it? I always love to use the things that happen in the world to bring it to the surface again.
So if you see me smash the webcam, that's what I'm doing. So yes, it's like it just saying the word elicits, like, oh my God, these memories all of a sudden out of nowhere. And that's the way the psyche works, is to when we're ready, as we're ready, at the age that we're ready and prepared, because we have enough gravitas, or we have enough ballast in our beings. It's almost like things bubble to the surface from the bottom of our ocean, which is the psyche. There it is. Oh, I hate to kill anything, but it's really just biting me up. So you're remembering that 5-year-old today, and she needs a little love from you right now, and she may need to cry. And after this talk, you need to take care of yourself in a different way, or just to comfort her, that part of you that is frozen in place. And that's the way trauma works. It kind of freezes us, these little frozen patches in our psyche, in our bodies as well, that want to just hold on because it's too painful to look at. And yet, every time we freeze up or clench up, it shuts down our radiance. And that's,
you used that word before. I like the radiance and the idea of our bright light, which is at the end of your book. The last piece of information. I think it's called Freeing the Light.
That's right.
Maybe you can talk about that, and then I'll read a quote about what we learn. How, yes, I had the trauma of the dog.
Yes.
But it's conceivable that my grandmother or great-grandmother had a trauma that she experienced that was never spoken about, that I live out today, because on some sort of level, its resonance lives inside me, and then I become a magnet and I attract more of it to me, and then I end up living out my grandmother's suffering and pain from her trauma. So we're going to need you to really open this up.
To unpack that is, something that many of us have always intuited. Like, you are just like Uncle Henry, or why are you like Bubba Rachel? It's like you react in the same ways. Well, there are these mysteries, and we do intuit, and we have intuited before all the science now is proving it, that there are subtle legacies. Okay, we inherit diabetes, we inherit beautiful hair or curly hair, or blue eyes or brown eyes, etc. But we also inherit more subtle legacies and unfinished business, and the life stories that didn't flourish because people were being displaced, or they were impoverished, or they were just fighting for their lives, or they had racial discrimination, or they were carted off in trains, and so they never got to say goodbye. And those infractions, those breaks, for a child or for any age, those translate into our cells. We call it somatizing. We somatize those, and they don't go away, and they actually can be inherited. We call it epigenetics. Many of you have heard me talk about that. It's not doesn't change the gene code or the construction of the genes, but it changes gene expression. If grandmother was impoverished, or she lost her family, whatever happened to her, that will be encoded on top of my genes. I will be carrying that. I'll be a carrier of that unfinished business. And now they're able to see that in terms of hormonal legacies, inheritance, and also my ability to metabolize stress in my life. So on one level, it just lets so many of us off the hook. Like, why am I always so anxious? Why am I waiting for the shoe to drop? Why am I always thinking the worst is going to happen? That may not have begun with you. It may actually be a legacy that you're carrying. And so when you do your work to do yoga, or to meditate, or to be in community that is healing and to be loved, or you do therapy, whatever it is that you do to heal yourself, you're not only healing yourself, you're healing backwards. You're healing what didn't get managed, what didn't get healed backwards. And then you're also healing forward, because the people you come into contact with, not to mention your children, are going to be the benefactors of that. They're going to really benefit from your healing.
I hear you. And I so know, KNOW, that what you're saying is true. And I recently, in preparation for this interview, and I've had a month to prepare, I've been having this bubbling of awareness, exactly what you said, about a free-floating anxiety that like lives here. And whose is it anyway? So maybe there is some program, an epigenetic, maybe not. I have to use some level of discernment. And it's so funny, when you said the word heal, I heard peel, like peeling the onion. So I thought, a lot of us, we've already done a lot of work. But then all of a sudden, here I am, 62. I wake up and I'm like, wow, look at that. You've got this bubbling energy underneath the surface. So where do we go from here? Like, do yoga? Is that going to really root out however many generations? And how far back can it go? Can it go back to having to run out of Egypt with all the fear, that we left with, and throwing our unleavened breads on our backs? I mean, how far back does it go? And I mean, that's kind of seriously.
It's not only our history, it's what choices were made with that history. So what did it's interesting that you brought that up. There are two very big narratives in the Haggadah, in the Passover story. And anyone who really combs the Haggadah will understand that there's one whole train that goes, it's one choice that we make. Avadim Hayin, we've been slaves, and every generation, B'chol Dor V'Dor, every generation they rise up against us, and we somehow skid by, but the world is against us, and basically it's engendering this and strengthening this victim
Yeah.
narrative about the world is against us and Gewalt, we're just all, and then there's a whole other story, which is open your door. Oh my God, the world is suffering and we understand it because we've been there. Open your door and invite people in on this Passover because there are immigrants and there are displaced people and there are kids that don't have parents. We can gather them in, come and eat our bread of poverty, right? So there's two different ways that we can go. So your brilliant question about, I mean, how long has this been going on? It really depends on the choices our ancestors made too. There's always this bifurcation. There's this fork in the road. Am I going to choose never again for us Jews or never again for anyone? And that choice changes literally, I think it changes our genes. And it has.
So we have choice today too. So I think
Absolutely.
your answer to my question is it's going to be in the choices today. So one of the concepts in your book is about, the chosen, I think it's called chosenness.
Yes.
And that's coming up for me right now, because in my chosenness, I'm going to separate myself from other, and I'm going to have differentness. There's something that's going to happen that's going to lock me in to the choices and the freedom that I really have. So here we have this bifurcation and we have this fork in the road, and we're living the story that our ancestors made. Now it lives within us. Then it behooves me to become aware of it, bring it to the light, and then know that I have choice.
Right.
And I think right now, as a humanity, somehow or other, it is about opening the doors and recognizing I am you and you are me. My suffering is your suffering is my suffering. There's some leap here today. I'm pleading with some part of me that we can represent making, so that we can go from chosen one to oneness. Help me here.
That's good. And from me to we, it might sound like a nursery school rhyme, but our planet needs to learn that bridge from me to we. We can't keep going. We can't, like as a human body, to use that metaphor again, we can't survive as a body if one or more of our organs are completely erupting in flames and fever. And so, this is really big. And what you're touching on, Liz, touches on every great traumatologist in the world, from Bessel van der Kolk to Yael Danieli, to everybody says this thing, and they call it agency nowadays, and some people call it sovereignty. There's different lingo in this world, but the idea is the difference between trauma, being a traumatized human being, and being a healed human being is agency. When we can say, I choose, and agency is all about choice. So I choose to heal myself. I choose to reach out. I choose to feel. I choose to break out of my bubble. And when we choose, we have agency. When we have agency, we have freedom. When we have freedom, we're no longer traumatized. That's the difference. A traumatized person or a traumatized people can't choose. And they don't have freedom of choice because they're all reactive. I'm reacting. You said that. You looked at me wrong. Like, why did you do that? I can't control my reactions. But if I have freed myself, I can say, oh, wait, maybe you're having a bad day, or maybe that wasn't you at all.
In your chapter on victimhood, you talk about you have to give up the victimhood. And as you were speaking just now, I got in touch with some fear about losing a self that I've known for a long time. And that self is identified as a victim. And I guess you really do have to give up victimhood in order to break out of that old constriction, that cellularly resonating in place and break free.
Yeah.
And it's
And it doesn't feel comfortable.
mandatory. No,
It's so funny. I just
no.
got, my husband just gave me a present last night, and it's Gloria Steinem's new book, and it just came out. It's hot off the press, and it's "The Truth Will Set You Free, but first it's going to really piss you off." That's the title of it. and the truth is, it's really uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable to, like what you're describing, Liz, I think is like a mini death. Like like even my white privilege, I'm not even sure I'm white. I'm Jewish, but my skin color is white, and I feel like I deserve certain things because my ancestors have suffered so much, and I deserve to be in America, and I deserve to do well, and I'm entitled to what I have. And all of that right now is getting called into question with these, the things that are going on in the world. And so for me to give up because that entitlement is really, I'm going to make a move here, and let's see if this is true, is the other side of the coin of victimhood, right? They're so connected. I'm victim.
Oh
So
my goodness, you can go from victim to entitlement,
right?
because you deserve to
Exactly.
be given more to make up for what you've lost.
That's right. Exactly. So, but that makes me unable to feel what's going on and the plight of Blacks right now. They're not, they never pulled that entitlement card. They have continuously been in this situation. Now, that may be very one-sided approach, but I want to reach beyond. As I watch TV right now, watch what's going on, and I have a daughter in Brooklyn who is in bed today from anxiety and panic attacks because the riots are literally down the block from her, and her, apartments are being opened up and looting everywhere. And so it's intense right now. And if I want to break out of my little bubble and feel what's really going on, and there's a saying, to heal the world, you must feel the world. To heal, we must feel, and we can't keep ourselves in our bubbles. But that means I have to break out of who I think I am, and that's painful. Like Gloria says, the truth will set you free, but first it's going to piss you off. It's going to be uncomfortable.
I can see why. With regard to your daughter and how we're connected with our families, so what's it like for you? Because you're not in bed and she is. Is there any part of you that would want to be in bed, like with her and feeling it?
Yeah.
What's that link like for you?
So, I think you started this conversation by saying our hearts are heavy today. That's how I feel. Like I could cry in a moment. I want to send her dinner, but she's not eating because of COVID. She's only, she can't eat out or she's not, doing takeout or anything like that. There's like this helplessness feeling that we have when our kids are.
And you feel it too.
Oh, yes.
Because what can you do for her? I mean, comfort her on the phone or do a FaceTime or a Zoom
That's right.
But there's only so much that you can do right now. There's a quote. Okay, so here's the book. I don't know if it's reversed or not. It's Wounds into Wisdom. And my guest, of course, you could see, because when she speaks, it's Tirzah Firestone. And that's her website. And you could spend about a day or two or a month or a year. There's so much information, so rich. You do programs and you counsel people and coach people and do online programs. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do, and then I'll read a quote from your book from one of the women you mentioned.
Okay, good. It's a new world. I'm supposed to be traveling all over the country now, but I am not. I'm teaching online a lot. I'm teaching through the Shift Network and through various other programs. And I'm teaching ancestral healing. We call it ancestral healing because it's looking at where we came from and what are the legacies that have translated down to us and how trauma works and how we can set free the positive, rich legacies, the wisdom legacies, and call upon our deep, deep wells of wisdom, and also set free and eliminate, just really let go of the legacies that aren't serving us, the shoe is dropping at any moment, and my shoulders are up around my ears, and I've somatized, my bubby's fear of the world, or I feel the world is out to get me. All those negative scripts and tapes that we inherit by nature or by nurture. How do we let those go so that we can be these, be who we really truly are, and be our biggest selves right now. So I do a lot of teaching online. It's all on I have a new class set coming this summer, and this year is so strange. High holidays, who knows if it'll be on Zoom. Everything
Look at
is
what our Passover was.
That's
So,
right. It may be like that. So.
And I was with Passover with my family all over the country when we never would have been all together.
Right.
So there, we talk about the silver lining. We can find that's choice too. How we look at even the suffering and the pain that gives way to tell us that there's something that needs tension.
That's right.
It becomes a signpost in our own, I like to use the word excavation, as we excavate so that we can be free from the chains that bind us to the past.
I love that. I love that metaphor, Liz. And I would say that another word I would add to it is that the way the psyche works over the generations is that, well, in Judaism, we say dor lador, from generation to generation. We pass down this Masorah, this tradition, and it's a wisdom tradition. And also there's a sedimentation of, like an archaeological dig of experience, we could say sedimented experience, that we do have to excavate and release. It's like we're mining, we're looking for the mother lode, and we're looking for gold. Where's the gold in my geology and underneath me in my foundation, and where are the things that are holding me back?
I had a conversation with someone earlier today, and we were talking about parts of ourselves, and somewhere I read that there's a part of us that's flawed, but the flip side of the flaw is really the gem in our brilliance and what shines in the world. You may have heard that before. And it reminds me of that excavating and the sedimentation that you're talking about. But I also want to say here that you don't have to do this work. You don't have to go digging, peeling, excavating. I think for some people, it's better left the ground untouched, because they've found a way to do life that works for them. They've attracted people that love them the way they are.
Yes.
And unless it's something that's coming from like a deep place inside,
yes,
I want to put the message out, like, be okay where you are.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I love talking to you. You're awesome. You're such a good psychologist. That is really true. And we learn in psychotherapy in this world, and I'm sure that there are psychotherapists and other healers on the call. We learned that it's a little bit dangerous. You don't just there's excavation, and then there's dynamiting. And dynamiting is really violent, and it can really cause more upset than it pays to do. It really can be dislodging and unhealthy. So I really believe that the psyche, the way we're constructed, our minds and our bodies and our dreams, our unconscious, how we work, God made us in such a brilliant way that when we need to do a piece of work, we are told, because we get a dream, or because, God forbid, somebody dies, and we have to grieve, and we have to think about that relationship, and we have to do the work. That's kind of excavating. Mourning is excavational work, and it's unpleasant. It's hard work, and you never know when you're grieving. I'm going to wake up in the morning, I'm going to feel okay, or oh my God, I have a wave breaking over my head, and I have no choice. I have to do this work. So the psyche tells us.
Well, this this is a lot like what COVID has been like too for the past 2.5, 3 months. You know, I never know how I'm going to be when I wake up in the morning. I
Yes.
don't know if my first thought is going to be, oh my God, my throat is dry. Could this be it? To, am I going to venture outside today? How much protection and preparation do I need in order to do that?
Yeah.
To what's our world going to look like when the holidays come around? I mean, and waves
Yes.
every single day,
Yes.
hours of discontent or disruption, and then moments of lightness. Again, back to the lightness of being. Could you tell us about the light that it's in your book? It's called Feeling the Light. Do you have your book to be able
Oh,
to
in
read
the
that part, or
end,
you want to just tell us? Yes.
the end is actually, I believe this is what you're talking about, Liz, is a very powerful myth from the Holy Ari, from Rabbi Isaac Luria, who died, I believe, in 1560 or earlier. So this is a long time ago. And he gave us this powerful cosmological myth about how the world was created. And basically it is also looked at through psychological eyes, looked at through the eyes of archetypes and Jungian psychology. It is it happens to every one of us. So okay, brilliant. I'm glad, really glad. So basically, in a nutshell, because this is a huge topic, it was all light, and the great will, the will of the universe, the great divine power, and the divine intelligence said, I want to create something, and I'm going to withdraw myself so that the light can take formation, can be formed. And that, so there's a Tzimtzum, there the divinity pulled back to create a space for somethingness, because everything was oneness. And into that empty space, light poured, but the vessels that were put out to carry the light completely were superseded, and they smashed, they exploded. They couldn't carry the amount of divine light, the white light. It's really the white light. It's like 1,000 times greater than the sun. And so all the light was fractured and got hidden beneath klipot, or the shards of the breaking of the vessels. And the myth is that this whole world is about looking for the light, looking behind the outer facet of things, the outer face of things, looking for this powerful light in little sparks, and releasing the sparks wherever we can. So like looking into your face and seeing the light in your eyes and saying, oh my God, there it is. There it is. That's it. And as I do that in appreciation of you and of your intelligence and your beauty, I release something. Some of your divinity is able to be liberated. And that's our purpose here, is to release light, to release the divine light that's hidden, sometimes very hidden. Like, what's the divine light hidden in this situation? What's the divine light?
I was just going to ask you that question. I mean, so
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say is, when I turn on the television and I'm watching it, instead of angst or rage, disgust, if I say to myself, see the light in here, Elizabeth, that's how I refer to myself, see the light in here. Somewhere you have light that you can see this with, and there is light here for you to see, part of the uncovering.
Beautiful.
That's something I can do, correct?
Yes. I love what you just made a great move, Liz, and that is to see the light, find the light with my light. So I have to look for it with light, because light attracts light. And so from my place of faith, my place of goodness, my place of knowing that I'm here for a purpose in this world, if I watch television and say, there has got to be light in here, and I'm going to see it from my highest place and see it as, this is an opportunity to change the world, to birth a new world. This is an opportunity to break open a shvir, and there is a shvir. So that term in Hebrew is called a shvirat hakelim, the breaking of the vessels. So you could say that this is a breaking of the vessels time. The institutions, The police in every city, the government, our authorities are all bursting open. We're questioning everything now, not like we did even 10 years ago, or maybe in the 60s we did, but now here we are again. It's another Shvirat HaKelim, it's another bursting, and light is being revealed, truth is being revealed, and now what do we do with it? That's our big question. How do we take this opportunity?
Okay, so here's one of your references, women in the book. Her name is Helena. She's an Auschwitz survivor, from your book, Wounds into Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is principle 4, resisting the call to fear, blame, and dehumanize. And she says, her quote, this Auschwitz survivor, "I saw this for myself in the camps. The body has its own will, its own fears, its own desire for revenge, but the soul has eyes that can be awakened. Then one sees that while hate goes on and on forever and forever, there is another path one can choose."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I need to hear that today.
Thank you. It's a perfect piece of wisdom for today. Yes.
We have to know that we can choose. Let's open it up. Maybe there are some questions. Our world is rebirthing, Carolyn is saying, and certainly rebirthing is something that seems to be happening in this moment. You mentioned it before, the potential is there. So let's open it up. If anyone has any questions, Marcia is going to be scrolling around, looking to see if there are any raised hands. You can unmute yourself.
I see Hindy's hand is up. Go ahead and unmute Hindy.
You know, I'm so glad we're having this discussion today, because I had to speak to numerous of my girlfriends this morning. I woke up very agitated, and I said, I feel like I have to cocoon in my house. I'm scared, and I'm not really a scaredy kind of person, but both my parents are Holocaust survivors. And this energy for me is like there's going to be troopers and on the streets and tanks and I just need to hide in my house. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to do with this energy? That's not who I am or what I want to be. Now, if I were 40 years younger, I might be out marching, but at 71, you don't go marching. But I feel I need to do something. And so in talking about this fear and this angst, and it was really very strong, I said, what can I do? Well, I can pray, I can shine my light. And then I said in my discussion, but if I sit on my sofa by myself, shining my light, doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. And so maybe we need to get a group of people together. And
Hindi, I want to just say something, Hindi.
Yes.
Now, you're talking about shining your light, but your video is gone off.
Yeah, hold on a second.
So you can put it back on, because I think it's important that we see you, because I can feel you. So something happened.
Hold on. My battery. It was my battery. I didn't realize my battery on my iPad was low. So I should be able to come back now. I just plugged myself in.
And you may have to start your video again. Look for the video opportunity. There you are.
Sorry about that. So I was talking with my friend Donna, as I'm assuming she's on. And we said, maybe we can start something, doing a kavana and coming up with a word and using numerology and using things that we know. And what came up for us is the word echad, meaning one. And what is the numerology of 1 was 13, and blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, and then we said, maybe we'll get 13 people together, and we'll ask those 13 people to get another 13 people. I'm only sharing this because by the time I was finished talking with her, and we were formulating, I felt free. And I said, oh my God, the fear and the angst was slowly leaving. And I didn't have to be a prisoner.
Mm.
No, we can't help if we're feeling like prisoners. There's no chance. And the first thing we have to do, Hindi, is take care of ourselves. It's the first thing. So literally to drink water, to be safe, to, if you need to stay in, but there's so much to do. I want you to, when we're done with our talk today, go to my Facebook page. There's a list of 26, or you could just Google it yourself, 26 things you can do from home. And that is constructed by people who are in the process, in the Black Lives Matters world. And they realize that not everyone's supposed to be marching, and that especially during COVID, that's not smart, but how can we all be put to work? So there's a list of 26 things you can do from home. There's another list that I have on my Facebook page, which is 21 things you can do. And some of, for some of us, we can make a donation to some, George Floyd's family, who, God knows what they're going through, or to other Black families who have been hunted down. For some of us, it's donating or giving some time to an arts, to the expression of these people, and to understand. I came by I want to just read this to you, and I have this also on my Facebook page, which I thought was so powerful today, because it came from I do yoga, and it came from Citizen Well, and it says, if our spiritual practices and all the ways we have of self-care invisibilizes oppression and harm, then it's just another form of oppression and harm. So I have to think, like, how is my...
Wait. Please say that again, because
yes,
there's something in here. I feel that it's like, we can hide what needs to be exposed, and we can hide behind, doing things. Now, in Hindi's case, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that, number one, you reached out for help. You called on a friend. And number two, you touched on your knowledge, your wisdom, your creativity to come up with, even though you made up a story about 1 is 13, 13 begets 13, 13 begets 13 more, it was as if you were co-creating your freedom, which you actualized. So I want to just acknowledge that there are tools that can help us when we're in quicksand, and we need to know that they're there. There's also this wisdom within that, I feel like you illustrated that you relied on, and I need to know that I can draw upon something that I've got in me to help me at least tread water until I get further. And so when you were mentioning just now, Tirzah, that we can hide behind or invisibilize. So let's take that back to the forefront. What are we invisibilizing? Is that a word?
Well, it's something that I want to think about in myself. How does my lifestyle invisibilize? I've never heard it before. It's a great word. What's going on in the world? How do I stay safe? Like, in other words, I think what she's saying, this yoga person, is how do I perpetuate the same story that's going on and keep myself in my neat little camp when these things are going on in the world? In other words, if I say, oh yeah, I have Holocaust survivor cousins, and they're very old, and I am not going to say anything to them. They are, anything they do, I like, you're 98 years old, I love you, anything you say is gold. But I was talking to him, like, oh, you know, those blacks, you know, they're looting, and it's just, that's the way they are. You know, like, if I accept that story and don't feel the pain of their lack of freedom, their, you know, what this culture is doing, and I keep in my little safe story, then I am somehow, I'm thinking out loud here, perpetuating.
Yeah. It's it is. And we're perpetuating. We're giving it, we keep giving that life.
That's right. But every time I feel into their situation, I feel into, this could have been me. In fact, this was me. This was my ancestors. Then my heart breaks open and I want to do something. And I want to come from that place. But Hindi, you know, you absolutely don't want to come from a place of feeling locked down or imprisoned or stuck or bad about yourself, or God forbid, any of those. And what you did, I think Liz answered you perfectly, reaching out. And that's what we need, each other right now. And then you feel stronger, and then you can act from that place.
I see two more people. Sophie, unmute yourself. Sophie said she wanted to share a story, and then there's somebody who I only know as iPhone 416 something, but we'll have that person next. So Soph.
Thank you, Marsh. Sisters, thank you. I tried pre-COVID, post-COVID, more challenging, to try to find something positive every day, to look for something where I can reach out to help someone, because ultimately that makes me feel good. I think it's true with all of us. A unique situation happened that I wanted to share with everyone. Last week, we all take calculated risks now. You know, are we going to follow the rules exactly? Are we going to bend the rules? You know, what are we going to do? So my husband, who medically is challenged, went to the store, masked, gloved, the whole thing, and went to Publix to buy some food. As he was ready to leave with everything in the shopping cart, he went to pay and realized he had forgotten his wallet. We've probably all done that at various points, you know, in our life. And so he couldn't pay. And it wasn't fun. It was like $70 worth of stuff. So a couple standing behind him said, please don't worry about it. The cashier said, just go home, come back, and you'll be fine. I'll save everything for you. Well, going home for him is challenging because he can't walk well, etc. This couple behind him said, please don't worry, we'll take care of it. I wasn't there, so I found out subsequently, and they insisted. My husband said, no, it's really okay. I can handle it. I'll go home, I'll come back. They said, no, we're gonna pay for this. And again, like $70, and you just leave. And they said, and pay it forward. I think we've all heard that expression. Beautiful. And so subsequently, I asked my husband, I said, tell me a little bit about this couple that volunteered to do this. Because in my mind, I had an image. Yeah. Were they older? Did they think my husband was homeless? Did they think he didn't? And I'll never know the answer to any of that. I said, you know, how was he dressed? What kinds of judgment calls were they making? I don't know. It turns out they were a couple about 30 years old. So they were a young couple. And they said, pay it forward. So
nice, beautiful.
And I thought, what a wonderful, wonderful story in today's time. So if we all can pay it forward, however that is, in whatever small ways we can do that, the potential for making us feel better and them feel better is so great. So I just wanted to kind of share that.
And now we can all pay it forward. Just hearing your story.
Exactly. And in any way at all, whatever small way we can pay attention to someone, we can, you know, at a traffic light, we don't have to get worried about someone, whatever that way is, if we all can look for ways to pay it forward. So thank you. I'm enjoying this very much.
Bless
thank
you.
you.
Great.
Bless you for that.
Thank you.
valuable.
Beautiful. Marcia, is there somebody else? Did your
Yeah.
iPad 426
The person,
identify themselves?
yeah, you know who you are. Someone has her hand up, and it's iPhone 416-418-1977. So if you can unmute yourself, you're the next person who has raised their hand. Do you hear us?
You're muted.
Right. You need to unmute yourself.
There.
Or
Can you hear me?
Scott-
Yes.
Yeah,
we can hear
there you go.
Hi,
you
it's Rosalie Moscow. Hi, Liz. And
Rosalie, we're
Yeah.
looking at your feet.
Beautiful.
okay, how will I do this now? I
No,
don't
you're
turn
good.
myself
You just-
around.
We're listening.
It's okay.
Am I turned around? How am I?
No, you're
How come
fine. Don't
Wait a
worry.
minute. How
We're
can I-
looking out instead of looking at you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good.
That's
that's
okay.
That's interesting. Okay, actually, that's a very good idea. That's what I need to do is look out
There
more.
we go.
I need to look out instead of looking in. I've been very, it's terrible. I'm in Canada and we don't have the same what's going on in the States. And my heart's breaking for everything that's going on there. And I come down to Florida during the winter. And so I love Florida. But I have a lot of personal things going on. I've taught it for a long time with my son. And unfortunately, it's affected my my nature, my spirit, and I'm trying very hard to bring myself out of it and to do things that I enjoy. And I'm trying to sing. I'm trying to get to my music. I'm trying to. I was dancing last night. I tried to help somebody who couldn't get some money into a meter, and I helped her. You know how you go. She couldn't get out of a parking lot. She would have been there all night if I couldn't have helped her get out. And so that type of thing. I'm trying to do things, and I'm trying to phone people who I know need me. But deep down, I'm feeling sort of numb, and I can't quite get out of it. And of course, it's not easy with not being able to go and do and sort of like
Rosalie, I think you just gave us the key word for Tirzah to work with, and that is numb.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what are some of the symptoms of someone who's dealing with trauma? And I wanted to talk about, and I see we're really coming to the time, but there's post-traumatic stress disorder and
Yes.
post-traumatic growth.
Good.
And Tirzah, I think let's try and bring these two together.
That's wonderful.
How can becoming aware
Yes.
of my feeling numb be a gateway for my growth?
Thank you. Thank you for
Do
reframing.
that.
Rosalie, is it? Rosalie, so we hear you, and there are 70 people who just heard you. And when you speak out and allow yourself to be witnessed, even if we can't see you, we hear you, and I think everyone on the call feels you, then that changes the whole metric. It changes everything, because now you're saying, I feel numb. Numbness, by the way, is one of the key is the key hallmark of trauma, is emotional numbness, or we also call it dissociation, and where you just, everything is a little bit foggy, and you put the real pain back in the back room. But as soon as you can name that numbness, things change. Naming things, articulating things is so important, and as is being witnessed. So here we are, we say he nanny, here we are, and we are hearing you. And now things can start to shift, because if you can name numbness, then who's naming it? There's some part of you that's not numb that can even see it, and that can name it and put words to it, and can say, I want to call in and I want people to hear me. So everything starts to shift there. And getting to Liz's point about post-traumatic, when we have trauma, we can change from PTSD to PTG. And that's something I want everyone to hear. it's maybe the most important thing of the call is that there's a whole new science right now about, and all these new studies about people, and the book is full of them, The Wounds into Wisdom, who, although we didn't call it that, who have taken their pain, whatever the pain was, and have said, I'm going to articulate it, I'm going to get witnessed, I'm going to work with it, I'm going to take action, whatever I can do, whatever that is, like Hindi picked up the phone and did her numerology, whatever it is that we can do, we shift our PTSD into post-traumatic growth.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We start growing
Okay.
from it. And the idea is that those of us who have been hurt, those who have suffered traumas or suffered losses, early deaths or suicides or just terrible extreme life situations, can take that and shift it and say, I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to grow. This is the shit. This is the manure. This is the compost that God gave me. And I'm going to grow my seeds, the seeds of who I am from this. So PTSD into PTG, post-traumatic growth. And that's the question we all have to ask, is how can we grow from this situation, my personal situation and this collective situation? How can we grow from COVID? How can we grow from the Shvirat HaKelim, the bursting of our institutions and our cities right now? How could we grow from this? How could we transform it into something good, some new sprouts? New trees can be planted from this shit.
Liz?
Perfect food for thought. Wonderful, that
Liz?
you give us this gift. Yes, Marcia.
Do we have time for two more? There are two more people
No,
with
I think
hands raised.
our commitment, it's up to Tirzah. I mean, our commitment is an hour-long program. I feel like where we are is really a great place to be.
It's a great
Tirzah, where are you?
I think there's some wonderful things that have come into the chat. You can look at somebody from St. Louis, is where I come from, by the way, and St. Louis is a real hot spot. Deborah Baker has given us a link that is very good about just signing petitions. That can be very, very useful, and writing some checks can be very useful. I think if you go to my Facebook page, and I would be very happy to give this to Marcia and Kim, give you a copy of this. If people have a hard time getting on Facebook, I can just send you an email form of to the 21 things you can do, the 26 things you can do. How can I take action so I can feel good about that I am moving into PTG, into post-traumatic growth here?
Because I think it's just a perfect place for us. You really gave us the imagery of planting in that soil of, when you dig into the soil, you're going to get worms and you're going to get dirty and it's not going to smell good, especially if it's manure. But if I'm planting new seeds that will grow, that leaves me feeling hopeful. And so I want to thank you so much. Wounds into Wisdom. Your name is your website.com. Your Facebook page, I'm assuming, is also the same.
Yes, and please give Kim a shout out. She's needing some support for her mom, who just moved in with her, and Chava, and Bat Helen Veyakov, that we all put Kim into our prayers tonight and in this week, because she's one of the progenitors of IJKL, and we want to support her right now as she's going through this really personally difficult year. I just want to give that.
Indeed. Thank you for
thought.
that.
Yeah.
And we have, this has been recorded. So if you go to IJKL.org, on their main nav bar, you'll see videos. And if you click it, in the series, the Innerviews series, Women Making a Difference, it'll be the fourth one. You have completed our series, but not the programming. Our spring programming, we have one more interview, and then we'll resume in the fall. We'll take a little bit of a sabbatical for the summer, but next week, Rabbi Akiva Mann, the spiritual director and co-founder of IJKL, will be with us. And he's going to give us a spiritual blueprint for both grounding and elevating in an intimate and revealing conversation that we'll be having next Monday at this time. And so please join us. Tirzah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and love
I'm
to
so
all of you.
excited
Please stay.
that the universe conspired to bring us together today.
Yes.
You were supposed to launch the series, but you had a commitment with I think it was the Shift Network.
That's right.
And so you were producing a program that was wrapping up, and you said, let's do the last one. And June 1st, today's my half birthday.
Oh.
So, yay. I know it's meaningful. And I had a dream last night. I had a big dream last night.
Ooh.
So
I like to hear dreams. Maybe we'll talk offline.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you.
Thank you. This has been an unbelievable series, and we've made a lot of new friends. Many of the people who have found their way for the first time to IJKL through this series, and I won't embarrass those of you who did not register, but I'll beg you to please sign up. I would like to send out some updated information that Tirzah has brought to light. So I can't do that if you don't register. We're trying to keep all of our programming as open and accessible as possible. So it does afford you the opportunity just to jump in without going through the process. It would be an amazing thing, but don't worry, I'll find you. If you don't, I'll find you.
So let's just tell everybody, when they go to register, just go to IJKL.org, and then how does a person get on the mailing list, or is there something for them to do?
You're automatically going to, and if you register for $18, or if you register for nothing, we will be offering you the June class pass. We're offering about 12 or 13 programs a week for any type of interest, everything, getting to know you, game night, as well as eating healthy, eating Jewishly, and that's being presented tomorrow with Nigel Savage, who is the CEO of, and Tirzah's nodding because he's just really a phenomenal, powerful guy in the world of what is food looking like. And I think there are a lot of good questions that are going to be coming up, as I think there might be some compromises in our food chain that will have us asking a lot of questions.
Well, I've been craving gefilte fish, so I'm wondering if that would be a good program for me, because I may have to stock up on some gefilte fish bottles. I mean, really, seriously, gefilte fish? What?
Are you sure you're not pregnant? Are you pregnant with a new idea? Are you pregnant with a new?
I am pregnant.
Are you having craving?
Yeah. I must be pregnant with something new to be birthed.
But I just would love to stay in touch with all of you, and thank you so much for bringing this on. And next week's interview with Rabbi Akiva is, I can't wait. And I've been his student for about 22 years, and am already excited to hear what roadmap he has for us. So visit the website, look at the classes, programs, events, and in the share room. And don't be a stranger to IJKL, like the alphabet, IJKL.
KL.
Thank you all so much. And
thank you. Wonderful. I am so grateful that we had today together. Thanks.
so awesome.
Love to all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love you all.